All right. So let's pray in and then we'll get started. So let's close the outer eye and begin by taking a deep breath in. And so how grateful and thankful I am to be gathered here in this way with these particular individuals, these particular soul selves. So grateful and thankful for all of the regeneration that takes place while we sleep. Grateful for the breath that breathes us without us needing to do absolutely anything, and the life force that allows us to open our eyes each morning. So grateful and thankful for the teaching of the energy codes and the ancient text from where Dr. Sue was able to translate this information, this knowledge, this wisdom that has been around for truly thousands of years. And so I'm grateful and thankful for the practical application. And so in this moment, I recognize that God truly is the only thing ever happening, because there is only one life, and that life is God expressing fully, wholly, and completely in all of its beauty, all of its power, all of its grace, as nothing but love, always governing, guiding, nurturing, and growing all it has created. To know that it truly is always good, without beginning, without end, for it is eternal. To know that its divine intelligence lovingly governs all that it has created. From the sprouting of every seed to the beating of our very hearts, to the orbiting of the planets, it is everywhere present, including right where each one of us is. For God is, we are, God is. I'm so grateful and thankful for the teachings of Yeshua ben Joseph, to know that when he said, my Father and I are one, it was not he that was the exception, but that this was true for all of God's children. And so I'm grateful and thankful to know that we are never, ever alone, and that we truly are supported and being beckoned by life to discover that we are here as creators. For we are created in the image and the likeness of God. And so we are a micro of this macro, and it is through us that it gets to create, to serve, to love. And so I'm grateful and thankful for all of the innate gifts that are being revealed and cultivated within each and every single one of us. I'm grateful and thankful for the expansion that is taking place, the deeper embodiment of our essential self, our true nature, the letting go of outdated ways of being, of existing, from the protective personality that allows us to show up powerfully, lovingly, and authentically in every aspect of our life. And so I'm blessing our time together. Grateful and thankful for this beautiful sacred container known as our Zoom classroom, for all of the sharing, the unfolding, the healing, and the embodiment. Grateful and thankful I released this word, knowing it is already so in the mind and heart of God, by saying, and so it is. Amen.
So it is. Amen.
Okay. So who's joining us from the 613 phone number?
Not me.
I wonder if
Hello?
that's, hi.
It's Yolanda. I'm
Okay.
driving, so I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Okay. We'll see you shortly.
Okay.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure my phone's on silent. It is. Okay. So this week we read chapter 5, which was the feeling code. And I thought that was a pretty easy chapter. It was kind of short, I thought. How did that chapter feel for you guys? Anything stand out? Did anything make more sense? In this chapter, she talks about taking it to the body. Don't name it, feel it. She also talks about keeping one eye on the inside. So do any of those feel more familiar, or like you're starting to see like the practical application of it, how it could benefit, wherever you want to go with this?
I'll just jump in. This is blowing my mind that I feel like I did not read this the first time. It's whoever said she added pages was so right on the money. The thing about the part of your body is just calling for your attention, that it just wants your attention is what the symptom is so beautiful. And then maybe this was chapter 6, the part of wanting and having.
This is still,
It's like hearing that for the first time. Is that 6?
no, it's still 5. You're still good. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't want it.
Everybody says that. Feel as if you already have it. And when Dr. Sue says, where in your body, for me, it was like up around my head and heart that I want something, I don't have it. And then to imagine already having the house, the love, the money, the everything that we need, that's lower chakras. And to just feel that way is wonderful and so easy.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I love this.
Right. It's like right use of the imagination. Because we can worry, right, and fret, and the attention that goes on to that will organize the photons so that that becomes the experience. Or we can use our creative faculties and focus the attention and the photons with in that scenario.
Yeah, and I want a magical life, so why not? This is great. This is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michelle. Let's see. One of the questions that we asked in chapter 5 is also like, when you're feeling a strong emotion, such as anxiety or sadness, where does that manifest in your body for you? How does the soul speak to your mind through your body? So that's part of like taking it to the body. Did anyone feel any emotions this week and was able to implement this practice?
None.
For me, it takes a concerted effort, because physically I always have sensation in my body, and more than not, it's not pleasant. And so I really had to focus in a way that it went beyond whatever physicality I had. And what was surprising to me is that when I really listened, I felt it like tied up here. It's like it was around my neck, my shoulders, and so it wasn't necessarily all my other joints or all the other issues. And it was, and then I was like, oh, well, as I'm going through the central channel breathing, maybe infuse that with more energy, with more love, with more just even awareness, and then keep going down, and then up. But also, she mentioned something in the book about, as you are, and it's still very challenging for me to really focus the breath going down, because I find myself, sometimes I will move my eyes, so then I lose this anchor point. So, but she said something about, as you're going down, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about your grocery list, or your mind goes someplace else, that is a clue or a hint that this is where there is a gap.
Yep.
And I do like thinking of it as a gap instead of a block. I find myself even thinking sometimes, oh, that gap is closing, or, oh, my circuitry's building, or whatever. And I've also noticed there's been very weird shifts in my body, and not always pleasant.
Mhm.
And there would have been a time where I would have been very, I guess, scared, or gone to worst case scenarios, or, oh, these things are just getting worse. And now I don't. I just kind of go, that's me, that could possibly be a shift. And the shift is not pleasant, but that's okay.
Right, right. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we won't go through discomfort at times or things that are not challenging. But it gives me tremendous hope to know that my own awareness and attention to it and love can finally bring a stop to whatever it is has been going on forever. So,
Yeah.
but I love what you said, that when she talks about scanning ourselves, like first thing in the morning and last thing at night, and going down inch by inch, and then seeing where the record jumps, right where the needle jumps. And then just building circuits there.
And sometimes I feel like go really fast, like, wow, it's at my feet. I didn't even, I don't think I was being as careful, or as just as cognizant or patient with it.
And I think this is the first year where I actually did it, like she said, inch by inch. In all these other years, like, it has been a much more speedy exercise to a degree.
Yeah.
So over time, it's like we keep doing this stuff, and it keeps evolving, right?
Oh, another thing it's like I read it the first time,
Mhm.
was when she talked about breathing, to really breathe as forcefully as you could. I mean, she alludes to Darth Vader, just that Ujjayi breath, just really just do it. And I have pretty easy access to that Ujjayi breath. I love doing it.
Mhm.
And then just I don't know why, but through other prayer groups or whatever, somehow, and maybe something I read, something about how relaxing it is to use your throat in that way.
Mhm.
And they alluded to like Tibetan monks, when they, they kind of do that.
Mhm.
And indigenous women have employed that kind of throat singing a lot.
Mhm.
And I like it. I like it. And I know I've always loved to chant. I know there's something here.
Yes. And I was laughing because I came across a picture online that Deb commented on. Let's see if you can see it. It's Darth Vader having some tea.
Oh, yes.
And I saw that after like my morning ritual of scanning and central channel breathing, and then I saw that, and I was like, that's how I feel, like Darth Vader in a field having tea. Oh my goodness. Who else? What kind of experiences did you have this week with the reading, the application, or anything that you noticed?
Yeah, one thing I noticed when she's talking about the difference between the story, telling the story,
Mhm.
and then going right to an exercise, a breathing, central channel breathing or whatever. And I never noticed how much time a story takes. Like, even if I'm just telling it to myself, that's a long time. It's going on and on. And then you have this feeling that you're stuck in the feeling, like it feels like it's going, continuous.
Mhm.
And so when I stopped to just do the exercise, it like moved so quickly.
Yep.
Okay. So I went from this, blah, 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 to, oh, I'll just breathe. And then, oh, okay. Now I don't have that particular feeling, whatever it was that was going on at the time. So that was sort of a big revelation for me, how much time gets used to just go through the whys and wherefores, as opposed to just doing something to help your body instead, right?
Right. So addressing it at the level of energy, right? Like interrupts it and even puts you like on the front side of it. As opposed to how long we used to hang out in the story and the emotions previously, right? Like that could go on for days or weeks sometimes.
I just thought of something, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to articulate it well, but when they and I say they because Reverend Michael also talks about it too, is the imagining having things already, or imagining that, going to that place of where it's wonderful and that good feeling,
Mhm.
you know. And I just thought, and maybe they're prepping us, because sometimes what happens, at least I think with either physical pain or any kind of psychological pain, that, or those stories that we get stuck in,
Mhm.
and if they're actually released, I feel like there's a void,
Mhm.
and it's maybe your head or your ego goes to, oh, well, what am I if I'm not this, because I've been this for so long.
Right.
And that you may kind of be just kind of, what are you? And so I think it's kind of like preemptive, that you've already thought about a good place, or you already have it in your head, or you already are doing something,
Mhm.
so that you have some place to go, so that that void doesn't scare you or leave you without an identity.
I like that because I remember Reverend Michael, he hasn't said it in a while, I don't think, but he used to say, I have drama, therefore I am.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. And it's a way, so I think what he was saying was that it's a way for us to get to know ourselves. And Dr. Sue describes it as we experience friction to discover what it is that we are, but there's another way to discover ourselves without having to experience the friction in our lives. So I agree with you. Like starting to cultivate, how is it that I would like to experience my life? You know, what does that version of me feel like, look like, sound like?
Yeah, that feeling of creating versus fixing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Reverend Michael said recently was, tell your drama to your mama. It's like, don't talk about it. Don't make a deal out of it. If you got to tell somebody, get your practitioner, but tell your drama to your mama.
Mm-hmm.
And that don't name it, feel it was really helpful in that regard, right?
Yep.
It's like when it's named, it becomes more real.
Exactly.
It has a life now. It's an entity because you've given it, a name. So both of those things, I know you said a while ago that eventually we would start to see the integration of these teachings with, whatever it might be, the new thought or other things we might do.
Mhm.
And yeah, that started happening. It's like, oh yeah, that don't want it, have it. We just had a class, right, where you read Neville Goddard.
Right.
Oh, and the feeling is the deal, right? Like, yeah. Why does it sound easier when Dr. Sue says it?
Right. There's something about her and the way that she communicates it. But I got to figure, and I haven't confirmed this yet, but I got to figure that her dad probably studied Ernest Holmes and he studied the ancient teachings as well. Right. Because I do see the thread through it all.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Eileen, how is the week for you and the reading?
Were you talking to me?
Yes.
Because it kind of froze.
Okay.
I did so well on some days, and things would come up and I would instead of going with them, I would breathe into them. I enjoyed the readings, well, listening. I found myself going back, continuing to go back and listen.
Mhm.
The integration, it's happening, but there's also resistance, and I notice the resistance instead of going with it.
Mhm.
So I'm with it, I'm just kind of with it. Been sitting in what I'd like for my life.
Mhm.
Most times it works, sometimes that starts, and I guess I just found myself surrendering a lot and not going with the drama and the old way of being. Self-talk is changing.
And I know at one point she talks about how, I think it's when she describes front side, backside of these chakras, and one of them being no longer taking the strong stance on something should not have happened, and accepting life as it's showing up and then working with it.
Mhm.
Um,
And I was really working with the trap door,
mhm.
and just accepting what is. And I found that the more I did that, and I could catch myself with the programming, the old subconscious programming, you
Mhm.
know. Yeah, so maybe it went a lot better than I thought this week.
Ah, sounds like it.
Right. Now that I'm saying it out loud.
And I think this helps to integrate, whatever you read, whatever ahas you had. And I feel like it drops in on a cellular level as you're able to articulate it. Because what do they
Mhm.
say, that as we teach something, like we take it in more deeply. So as you articulate it and share it, it drops in more deeply.
Mhm.
So thank you.
And I think I really feel the Audible book helps me a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Who'd like to share next? Vanessa?
Hi there.
Hi.
Um, I think I'm thinking what Eileen said. um, that there, I actually just heard myself say maybe I will try the odd, the the book on tape as well, because I have a lot of resistance to reading it, and yet I seem to be doing the exercises anyway. Um, I'm I'm right there. This week was about had a couple of experiences where I know I'm feeling, not emotion, beyond emotions, right into that kingdom. I'm in there. Um, my dog had surgery this week, and I remembered how I prayed, but also the breath I breathed and where it was. Um, and I was I don't even know what the word is, but I was the feeling that I would, and it was done. I wasn't wanting anything. It was done. And I had a similar feeling playing tennis, actually. As my heart gets really tight. I gotta work on my aerobic. Number one. But number two, it just seems to be what's screaming at me, open, so my my poor coach, he was really worried. He wanted me to sit down because he could hear me like, just, like, I'm fine. Just, I'm good. Please sit. I'm good. I'm good. But as I did it, I had a connection with my husband and my coach, because they're both out there playing, and they are, well, for me, they've been men and I don't get them. But in this moment, I could feel, I was so connected in feeling. I don't even know how to describe that, but I knew what to do. I understood what they were asking me to do without talking, without thinking, and just going in the feeling. It was an opening of some
Wow.
sort. And then and I should just say I'm in a drama now, going back and forth, recognizing what, to me, my definition of shock is. And it reminds me of what Lucy was saying. What we're talking about is, it feels like shock. I'm in shock about, my husband just lost his job about an hour ago.
Oh,
And I
wow.
could feel shock of it. But I think what that is just, there are no thoughts. I'm taking no thought, and I have no feeling. I'm just here because there's nothing really going on, and I want to grab for something. I want to grab for a narrative. And
Yeah.
so instead I apologize. I did text him because he called. But he said, he was explaining what happened. He has to go someplace in his job, even though he's not, anyway. And he wants to talk, he wants to explain it. And I found myself texting, say nothing. There's nothing, you don't have to speak this, hold your boundaries, just breathe. And I was like, oh, I think that was for me. Just to let it be. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing wrong happening. Just gratitude, because I'm very excited about what's going to happen next, quite frankly. And
Holy cow, talk about front side of the model.
thing, but yeah, anyway, so that's what's going on. There's more, but that's enough for this moment. Attacking the body is hard for me, I think, just because of my background. My I was a competitive gymnast, I was a competitive track, I was a dancer, and I approach movement. I'm still working on my mind about how I approach movement and feeling. So I think I'm just backing into it the way I can, because of all the muscle memory and emotional memory about how I think of this thing and how I use it. So Grace.
That sounds like very front side way of not resisting. And actually, right. And she says that there are no exceptions to any of our experiences, that they all lead to even if it's like eventual good, I think is how she describes it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very good work, Vanessa. How about you, Iretta?
Well, unfortunately, I've been traveling. I've spent the week on the East Coast with my son. He wanted me to come for Mother's Day. So I just got back yesterday, and I should have I was off yesterday. I should have just taken the rest of the day off, but I wanted to save the vacation day. So I went into work at 5 and got off at 1 a.m. And so I didn't do any reading. I did. And this morning, my thought was, you really don't have to attend the class. You can just watch the recording or whatever, because you don't really have a whole lot to contribute. Of course, that's ego telling me not to be here, but I decided to, even if I'm just here just to listen, that I needed to be here.
Thank you for that. Because yeah, even just hearing other people describe, how it's unfolding for them, I think is beneficial. And then we're going to do some of the exercises too. So I'm glad you came. And happy belated Mother's Day to everybody.
Same to you.
Yolanda, did you want to share or you, I don't know if you're, I don't want to distract you.
I'm stopped right now, but I have an appointment at shortly. So I was just same same boat. I just thought I'd listen in. I don't think I have that much to share this week. I think I was still more focusing on the other, like just essential channel breathing.
Yes.
I did read the 4, but didn't get too much into, like, I just, other than noticing where my body was, like during the central channel breathing, where my body was kind of skipping over certain areas.
Uh-huh.
My mind was skipping over in the scanning.
Right.
And being more intentional with slowing down around that part. For me, it was the not solar plexus, the sacral chakra area.
Uh-huh.
Kind of, it would skip from like above to the root chakra where I could feel it a little bit more because I'm squeezing there.
Okay.
But yeah, that's probably the extent of the practices I got to this week. Just kind of taking it slow.
And that's perfect. I'll just say that. So thank you so much for sharing that. One of the things that Dr. Sue wants us to get from this chapter is she wants us to be able to tell the difference between when we're figuring something out with our thinking mind compared to what it feels like when you have a gut feeling, like an inner knowing. Have you guys ever had that happen where you just knew without knowing how you knew? And do you notice a difference in how that feels in the body compared to thinking something through?
I think that's what I was saying is happening a lot this week.
Mm-hmm.
And like on the tennis court, I just knew. I also feel like that's what was happening about what chapter we're on, but I didn't read it. But I've been doing exactly all of that this week.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah, I think when there's a knowing, I mean, I had to really stop and pay attention to it because I think when there's a knowing, I don't question, I don't notice. In other words, I just keep moving naturally. And when I'm trying to figure things out, that's not what happens. So I tried to really pay attention to what it feels like to know, because I don't think I ever paid attention to it. I've experienced it many times, but I just came up with it. It feels softer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kind of ease to it.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely my mind doesn't come on and go, oh, are you sure? No, are you sure? Because I don't know, there might be another way to look at that. I don't even go, I mean, it doesn't even happen. And then it does feel like surrender. It just feels like you're just in the flow and off you go.
Anybody
As
else?
to why it's not, why it's off and on, that would be helpful. Like, why are some things so knowing and some things are like, yeah.
I would say that as we build circuitry, we're able to access the gut feeling, the intuition, and the knowing more easily.
Good question.
That it would be more consistent, right? Because it's something that's always happening. Question is, do we have the circuits in place that allow us to hear the communication?
Okay.
I find there's a lot less trying, because I know that I like to try to figure things out a lot. And usually from a space of fear, So I've been able to just kind of notice that and be with that. And and not have to have all the answers and not have to try to figure it out. But whatever's coming, it's coming and it's okay. I can get to those places now.
Yeah, which is
Mm.
amazing.
So that it, and it's still wobbly, you know, but at least I can catch. You're trying to figure this out. You're trying to, there's not a, it's, that's diminishing, I'll say,
And exhausting to me.
very.
I think that speaks to the difference between that you talked about a problem and a project in times past. I mean, in the chapter before this, and I've noticed that now when I have a task ahead of me, there used to, I could feel it in my body. There was a tightening in my torso, like, oh, I have to do this. And it's not that whatever needs to get done doesn't need to get done, but there is an ease about the way I think of it, like, I wonder how that's going to happen. Let's see what shows up, or just kind of open to this. This could be great, or this could be interesting, or let's see how this is going to unfold. Instead of it was almost like starting a race with brakes on. You know,
Oh.
you're not moving at all. But I have noticed that with things that would, I could feel it in my body, and I would just get all crazy, and I hadn't done a thing.
Right.
So the other thing that happened to me this week when I was doing the central channel breathing, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with those soak meditations or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was doing it while I was listening to it, and the affirmation for that day was something about standing up for yourself, something like that. And I wasn't actively repeating it, but I was aware of it. And then all of a sudden, when I got to the third chakra,
Mhm.
there was a memory that came up,
Mm.
and it was exactly a time where I did not stand up for myself. It was exactly, it was like I was very embarrassed about what had happened, even though it was not quote my fault, but I just wanted to forget it. And it was something physical that had happened to me, and I just it had hurt me. But one of the things that had happened, I had false nails at that time. I used to have those false nails, and one of them I had just gotten them done, and one of them cracked. And I remember my focus and all this was like, I need to fix this. I need to go get this fixed. Kind of like let's patch it up. Let's patch it up quick, so
Yeah.
it's not seen. It's not, And it was a real. And I don't even think I have not thought about this event. It is not one that it blares out in my history or anything, but was so weird. And I remember when I think about, I said, well, that was interesting that showed up. And I don't have any remorse towards this person that hurt me. I didn't even think about him, but I just kind of just blessed him, just kind of just said his name and blessed him wherever he is. I hope he's great. And then went on. That was a very interesting experience, to say the least. And it reminded me something that Dr. Seuss said about what you think may be the issue is not really the issue.
Mhm.
Because I know I've wanted to add story to my condition a lot.
Mhm.
And then it dawned on me that this condition showed up prior to any of the stories I was giving it.
Mhm. That's tremendous work, Lucy. And nothing will show up or bubble up from the energy field unless we're ready to disintegrate it, to dissolve it, to not even to dissolve it, because it's almost like take whatever got stuck, whatever got stored, and then we requalify it, bring it back into the vibration of love, and then return it to the whole energy field from where it came, like giving it the correct identification, because it's kind of held itself at bay all these years, thinking it didn't belong. And so it's a tremendous process that you just did, like taking back, reintegrating part of yourself. And that's what starts to happen with this kind of work. Things that we're not aware of, things that are dictating our life experiences and we have no idea. Very good. Vanessa, you have your hand.
I do. I think you just answered the question. This week also, I know, last week we were talking about father figures, father energy, and I was in a rehearsal. We meditate, this woman and I meditate before rehearsal, got interrupted by a phone call. Bottom line, I came back in, she finished the meditation. I could feel nothing. I think that's where I was at first in wanting to bring it up. Either I feel emotions or I feel nothing. And both, but things of knowing happen when I'm in that nothing's place. Bottom line, I was feeling nothing. And she came out of the meditation and I looked at her and she looked so familiar, but she, not her though. And I was like, oh, that's not yours. Meaning the energy on her, like, that's not even you. It's like, that's me. And then I was like, and she said, it feels very masculine. And I cried because I wondered if it was my dad's energy. But then I woke up this morning and I thought, maybe it was my masculine energy. But somehow I kind of like, it was not hers and she knew it. She was like, and she was feeling very uncomfortable because she was like, it wouldn't leave her alone. It was invading her space. And I felt very apologetic because I couldn't, like, I can't bring it back. I don't even know how to, but I think you just explained what I am to do to keep integrating and not literally dumping it on other people.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Reverend, I kind of hesitate in sharing this, but I had an experience somewhere this week, and it was probably in the 3 o'clock hour, morning hour, and I just felt this wave of, and I could hear the kingdom of God is right with you. It's surrounding you. And there was just this overwhelming feeling of just love for everybody, even those humanly that, are appearing. There was just this wave of love that I felt. Just, it was unconditional, and and it was so strong. But when I woke up, I couldn't, when I started to go about, it's like I couldn't go back to that place.
And sometimes, well, remember, I think we talked about this perhaps, how they have us listen to things as we're falling asleep, because there's this space that we hit where we can access the subconscious. It's almost like a trance state. So yeah, when we're awake, the mind gets in the way. Right? But when you're in that in-between stage, you are able to access the only thing that's real, which is love.
And it was just overpowering my whole, it was just in my whole being and body,
It's what you're made out of, Eileen. That's
Yeah.
you. That's your true nature right there. So no, regardless of how it is that you think of yourself, that you've identified all of these years, that's the real you.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you caught a glimpse of your true self.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Oh my God, your week is so much better than you said.
Right?
Oh my gosh. How about you, Michelle? Anything else on this chapter? No.
Those were pretty mind blowing.
Okay.
Things are stirring up, and I'm having crazy dreams, vivid.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good.
It really is. So one of the breaths for this one is the Buddha belly breath. So let's do one together. So it's called, technically it's called the vessel breath, but its nickname is the Buddha belly breath because it focuses on chakra 2. And so in this one, it's building on the central channel breath. And you know how when we do the central channel breath, we contract Mula Bandha. And then the added additional kind of constriction is to engage the muscles like in the hip area. So if you can imagine even like squeezing your lower hips, that's the other muscle that we want to constrict. She says contracting the muscles below the navel, deep in the pelvic bowl as we breathe. So, and bringing all the anchor points in. So Mula Bandha, pushing the shoulder blades back, closing the eyes, looking at the center of the forehead. And I missed the throat. So bring the chin back. And then see if you can add a little bit more constriction to the hip area. And then let's take a deep breath in from overhead into the belly. And then exhale into the earth. And now let's breathe up from the earth into the belly. Exhaling through the crown. Let's do it one more time. Inhaling from 2 feet above our head into the belly. Exhaling down. Breathing up. Exhaling through the crown. So don't worry about doing it right. Just do it to the best of your ability, even if what you're doing is using your imagination. But that starts to light up the sacral chakra. And she calls it the inner seat, I believe. Let me see, what does she call it? One's own seat. So being able to like come in and take its seat in there, right? And making yourself more comfortable in it.
So when we're doing that, we don't focus on any of the other chakras. Is that right?
Right. And then there's another one that I wanted to show you for sacral issues. So you're sitting and then you're breathing into that area, and you don't have to have like your eyes closed and the throat, but you can if you want to. But it could be just Mula Bandha and heart. And then you slice with your hands like knives right at that area. So you breathe out and you breathe in. So
Doesn't matter what, one movement is breathing in and the other movement is breathing out, does it matter which it is, like right or left?
No, and so basically when you're slicing, you want to exhale, and on the return, you inhale.
Ah. When you're slicing, you exhale. That makes sense. Okay.
It's almost like breath of fire, so that the inhale takes care of itself.
Right.
And what Dr. Sue was sharing with us recently was that we carry a karmic sack in chakra number 2, which is stuff that we're bringing in from the bus stop that may have to do with us, that may have to do with family lineage. And so we start slicing through it to open it up and dissolve, which I thought was fabulous.
This was in the book?
No, she said it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really missed it. Okay, cool.
Right. And I was like, I have to share this with them.
All right.
All right. So now we're going to move on to the clearing code, and we will be standing up for some of this. But the clearing code is the conscious and the subconscious, right? So maybe 5% of life really comes from our conscious awareness, and 95% of it comes from the subconscious. She talks about the trap door, right? If there's something that happens that alarms us, the door that's supposed to open like this very easily between the conscious and the subconscious slams shut. And then the signal can't rise up and through to let us know that the emergency is over. So these exercises in this chapter are to open the trap door back up so that the signal can come through to let us know that the bear has left the premises, and that the body can turn off all of the alarms and return to its everyday activities of healing, regeneration, blah, blah, blah. So let's see, when the trapdoor stays shut for too long, it starts to fatigue the adrenals. People end up having thyroid issues, hormonal imbalances. So that's a sign of the trapdoor being shut. And because it's subconscious, we have no idea, right? Like what the emergency was that may be the reason for what it is that we're experiencing physiologically. It also contributes to insomnia and anxiety, having that trapdoor slammed shut. But it's never too late to open the trapdoor. She talks about that. And in order to create the life that you truly love, we need to start by accepting life as it comes. So instead of having a knee-jerk reaction, we start to become more curious about what's unfolding and what's happening, even if it's unwanted, undesired, or bad, right? So like as I was getting audited, I'm like, how am I supposed to lean into this? So the practice has become, because these attorneys, even though I've hired attorneys, they're non-responsive, and I've paid them thousands of dollars already to help me, right? Because I don't know anything about taxes. And so now the practice is when I get on the phone, even though they've been non-communicative for a year, I'm like, okay, how can I see this differently? So I start using my imagination, and I'm like, somehow today's experience is going to be different from everything else I've experienced this past year with them. And it feels so good in my body to have a closer sense of resolution with regards to this. And I start praying for the attorney and his paralegal, and I start praying for the IRS. And it was surprising. I actually got a little bit more help this time. But there's no anxiety. There's no bear in the room slamming my trapdoor shut. Do you see how we can, even with something like that? Because otherwise, right, I could walk around like Henny Penny for over a year, and this is still unresolved.
Can you speak a little bit more into being more curious about what's going on?
So Dr. Sue talks about how absolutely everything that happens is happening in our favor,
Mhm.
right? For our eventual benefit. Reverend Michael talks about it as life is good, God is good, right?
Mhm.
So if life is good, even if something is unpleasant is unfolding in front of me,
Mhm.
instead of curling up into a ball and hiding in a corner, or getting on the phone and yelling at someone.
I don't know, Reverend Cynthia.
Kind of feels real good.
That feels real good sometimes.
If I take 110% responsibility for my life, and if I begin to identify as creator, never mind how it is that I've behaved in the past, how can I step into my power to create my experience consciously from this moment going forward, right? So I'm being mindful of my energy. I'm central channel breathing. If I'm feeling density, if I'm feeling fear, if I'm feeling anger, if I'm overwhelmed, sad, and crying, I'm gonna hold myself differently. I'm gonna breathe through it. And then I'm going to lean in, right? When I was a kid, if I did something wrong or bad that I knew I was going to get in trouble for, I couldn't wait for my parents to find out and then experience the consequences. I would march myself right in and said, look, this is what happened. Go ahead and punish me. I couldn't take the torture. I couldn't take, right? So there's a softening that's happened, right? So as life is unfolding, I'm not going to say, go ahead and punish me, but I am going to say, what are you up to with me? What do you want? What are we going to create? Kind of thing. Because it's not here to beat me and it's not here to punish me, but it is here to refine me and cultivate me and expand me in some way. That's the curiosity.
Life is always working out for me.
Always,
Always.
always. Dr. Sue just sent me the forward for the book yesterday. And she goes into depth about how that is the case.
Okay.
Mhm.
So do you work with it the same as if you didn't make a mistake as if you did make a mistake? So in other words, I don't know what happened with the IRS. I don't know if it was you or your accountant or just a mistake, right? But either way, let's say you cheated, you didn't put everything in that you should have put in, or you did it perfectly and they didn't like something, or they handle it the same.
So in one of the cases, I had a corporation, right? So I deducted expenses for the corporation. But you have to file your personal and your corporate ones together. And because we didn't attach my HSA form from my job that year, they disallowed all of these expenses. That was one thing that happened. But then I think that raised a red flag. So they ended up auditing 2018, 17, and 16. They ended up going back. And then she stopped answering my calls, the accountant. And I think we submitted the form that they wanted, but they just continued to disallow everything. So then I had to submit proof of like all of the expenses while I was going through ministerial school, because that was part of it. But it's still an unresolved issue, and the accountant stopped taking my calls. So then I had to hire a firm to represent me because the IRS scared me. And when I hired the firm, I was still very much in fear because that was one of the things that subconscious beliefs that I was working through. That like, don't mess with the IRS, right? It was something that had been embedded in me. Part of the other thing that I've been working with subconsciously is life is attacking me, right? Like, because of how I've been raised or my life experiences, it's almost like I've had to fight my way through life, right? To stay alive. So that's being flipped to the front side of the model. I'm like, nobody's attacking me, even if it's the IRS. This is for my benefit, all of it. I'm incredibly supported, no matter what's playing out on the screen of my life. Boy, do I know myself better. That person that had some kind of fear, she doesn't exist anymore. I have full trust in God and in myself that this will resolve itself. I don't care if you're an attorney who has no access to his feelings. I know who I am. There's been so much cultivating here.
So where I get stuck is if I think it's my fault.
And
If
also,
I don't think it's my fault, I don't get stuck.
and right from the higher perspective, I create my life experiences for my own cultivation, my own soul growth. I know when I do something blatant, when it's like, it's been a while, I think, since I've done something like that. Like, I'm trying to think of what was the last time that I like stole a candy or something. Do you ever go to the market with your mom and like sneaking a candy from, they used to keep like the Jolly Ranchers of the candies, and you were like, I don't know.
I always figured it was their fault. You're gonna put it out there.
Right.
Kids are gonna take it. I mean, come on.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't think of the last time I did something that I knew was wrong and did it anyway, like went against my own. It's been a while, but I know it's happened. I know it's back there somewhere. But yeah, a couple of years ago, I set the intention that I wanted to experience my sovereignty and live as a free being on this planet. And that you can't do that when you're afraid of anything.
Yeah, right.
Right. So that was probably the intention the soul set. Eileen.
Moving through have been moving through extreme financial conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to start looking at it in a different way.
What is it trying to cultivate within you? Where is it trying to get you to? What version of you is it birthing?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think I was sharing with Deb the other day that when I went in to see the neurologist here in Vegas, who's new to me, but he had met me once in person already. And then he had a nerve conduction test done. And they gave him the test results, and he walked into the room where I was sitting without realizing that it was me. And before even looking up to see who the patient was, he goes, "Oh, you have ALS." And I like started laughing hysterically, and I didn't mean to. It was almost like a knee jerk, but I was like, get the fuck out of here. And he goes, oh, it's you. Anybody else, I would have said that this shows that they have ALS, but now I know it's you. And it's like, get out of here with your diagnosis. And that level of certainty would not be present without everything I've gone through.
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I don't care what they taught you in school and how right you may think you are. Like I've had enough. That's it. No more. No more diagnoses get laid on me. I'm like at the tail end of this one. Don't you dare give me another one.
I guess one of the things that strikes me about that story too is he's not even looking up and he says, "Oh, you have ALS." I mean, oh my gosh, that's kind of, I don't know, it seems very insensitive.
Right. And you know the damage that that can do to somebody, even if they don't have it.
Yeah.
And it seems very unprofessional that he walks in a room, walks in an area and just starts talking to someone and he doesn't even know who he's talking to.
Mm-mm. He really doesn't know who he's talking to.
Yeah, and that part too. But you know what I'm saying? It's really unprofessional for him to not acknowledge, hey,
Hello, how are you today?
yeah, how are you doing? Your name is so and so because you're a new patient, right? And I mean, it just seems so unprofessional for him to come in and give you a diagnosis that and he doesn't even know if it was, that just doesn't sit right.
Right. And he's younger than my son, probably. He's probably like 30.
Yeah.
And he's never heard of the condition, knows nothing about it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't go studying up on it because we're not going to be working together long.
I was gonna say, I think you need a new doctor. That was a sign from God that you don't need to deal with this man because he don't know what the hell he's doing. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
I'm just so, I mean, it's really though moving to me that given the confidence that people have in statistics, in probabilities, in that knowledge, that power that has been given over to that method of assessing a person, and to have the courage to know it's bunk.
Yeah.
That's pretty, I mean, I don't know if I could do that. I better do a lot more breathing.
Okay.
But this is,
I mean, it was all of that unprofessional and crazy and everything, but at the same time, like you said, an unsuspecting person without study or understanding could have been destroyed by that. I mean, and when Reverend Cynthia told me that story the other day, I mean, I've had the same experience in the mental health arena. That's where I work. Somebody's told they have something, they immediately start presenting. So if you tell somebody they have bipolar disorder, within minutes, they'll show some example of that they never showed before. That's how strong that can be for some people.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm clapping for you, and I'm saying, okay, so how many years did it take you to get back? Because can I speed that up a little bit?
Right. And it's like I said, like, well, I mean, I got diagnosed in 2004, I think, and I started showing symptoms in 2002. And it seems like a long time, but I want to say that a good portion of it, like the firmness of it, unfolded over the last year for me. And that was when like I got audited and more medical stuff and everything happened simultaneously. And it's like, who would have asked for 3 major things to be up simultaneously? I could not have asked for that. But God has it served me.
So it strikes me about what you said, or I admire, is that, or feels familiar now, even this week, in describing these feelings, or the prayer or the knowing about my dog, was there was no permission required. That I realized God in that moment, and I really did realize that. That's what I'm feeling right now about what you're saying, is what has been polite for me in the past also turned into, cooperation with what people think.
Yes.
And on me. And I think that's something going on with this book with me, or just working. I'm disentangling how I think about instruction or whatever, something is, it's all, something's going together here. So thank you
All
for
the
sharing
time.
the story.
all-
All the time. Yes.
Whether you read the book or not, like life comes right here.
Yes. I should not have said I'm saying I should. I heard myself say my husband lost his job. That was drama. And what I didn't say is that I said a prayer of gratitude before I came in. I did do that, and I did feel, I am excited. I do kind of get excited about those things. I don't know if that's drama or just a knowing, or maybe a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
it feels, I'm I am grateful, because I get him for a while. I don't get to, we don't get to, we haven't had a lot of family time. So I think that's going to be lovely. Anyway, I just felt like I needed to say something different. He resigned from his job. I don't know if that's ego saying it. I think it's just, anyway, I think it's just trying to flip something into not a loss. We've lost nothing. We've lost nothing.
No, and you're right. When Jesse got let go from his job while he wasn't even at work, we were here in Vegas.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm like, this is like a scene out of Friday. Who gets fired on their day off? And it caused the escrow to fall through because we were in the process of buying a house at the tail end. But we spent a whole year together 24/7. And had it not been for that time, I don't think I would have reached a level of knowing that I truly did want to marry this man.
Mm. Well, I sense that whatever happened this week, and my knowing, it's also, I'm feeling good about holding the space of knowing for my family. I don't think I've always felt that way, but it feels really good to kind of step into the lead in that way, or whatever we call it, and just know, and the love that I feel isn't, I said I love you as he got off the phone. I've done that before, and it was kind of like the I love you thing, but that's not what it was this time. It was something's very different about the
Yeah.
whole. So
You feel very solid to me, very grounded.
yeah, it feels really. I mean, you know what, the word is coming up, and it's not true. It's one of the words I think I might be cutting defiant. I was taught that I was defiant,
Oh,
rebellious. I'm none of those things. I'm not so small. And yeah. So
okay. So thank you for that, Vanessa. So there's a couple of practices in the clearing. I think the mortar march is probably the easiest one for us to do today. And that one, I was surprised. I always thought that you did the central channel breath through the mortar march and the empire step, but you actually hold your breath, right? So holding something in your awareness, and you could do this sitting down or standing up. I'll show you both. What we're going to do is we're going to put our body in a contralateral position. And it's similar to when you were a toddler learning how to crawl. At that stage in your development, you were a sponge, right? So when you put your body in a contralateral position, your system can update because it becomes spongy and it'll absorb. So then the idea behind it is that you get to hold a thought about how it is that you would like to experience yourself or life, right? And then we're going to put our bodies in a certain position and you're going to hold your breath. Because Reverend Michael talks about this, right? That like when we get frightened, we're like, and then that gets recorded in your subconscious and the body. So now we're going to use it to have a good thought, using our imagination to create the version of ourselves that we're ready for. And we're going to go, and record that in there. So that's what we're going to be doing. So if we're sitting, let me show the cat. So if we're standing, when we're standing and we're stepping forward with the right leg, if you're in a chair, then the right leg would come out this way and the other leg would just kind of go back. So let me turn it around. There we go. Like this. And then the arms would be like this. Perfect. So let's see. So if your right leg is forward, then that means that it's the left arm that's in the front and the right arm goes to the back. And then you're going to be looking at your thumb and you're going to close the right eye and then bring to your mind or your imagination. So Iretta, if you're sitting, you want to have your right leg out like this if you can, and your left leg kind of back like this, if you can. And then your arms are in front and you keep the left arm in front of you and the right arm opens up to the back. And then, and if you can't, because I know you have a back injury, that's okay. So looking at your thumb, you're going to.
I'm just gonna recline. I gotta get into a chair that's not, doesn't have all the sides and all that.
Okay. And you could do it standing up as well.
And maybe even.
So if you want to stand up, we're gonna stand with the right leg forward. And then your arms are gonna come out in front of you. And the right arm goes to the back.
Right leg forward.
Right leg forward, left leg back. Arms in front like this. And then the left arm stays, so the opposite arm stays in the front from the leg, right? So if the right leg's in the front, then the left arm's in the front. And the right arm goes to the back. And then you're going to look at your thumb. And then I want you to bring to your mind the version of you that you're ready for, what she feels like, what your life feels like, what your body feels like. And then you're going to close the right eye and you're going to take a deep breath in and hold. And then release when you're ready. So then you're going to step forward with the left leg. And then both arms come to the front. And then the right arm is going to stay in the front this time. And the left one's going to open up to the back. And then looking at your thumb, thinking about that version of you that has an amazing house, that makes all this money, that has a healthy body, that feels joy and happiness and strong and centered and grounded, whatever it is that you want to experience. And then take a deep breath in and hold. And then we're going to do it one more time on each side. So stepping forward with the right leg and then arms to the front. Left arm stays in the front, right arm comes to the back.
Wait, the right leg is forward, so the left arm comes to the back, no?
No. So if your right leg is forward, the opposite arm is in the front.
Okay.
And then tilting your head to the left and closing the right eye. Squeezing Mula Bandha and take a deep breath in. Arms down, legs together. And then last time on the left side, So left leg in the front, so opposite arm in the front, right? Left arm, right arm. Left one comes to the back. We're tilting it to the right and we're closing the left eye. And then we're taking a deep breath in while we're holding the image. And then if you're standing, bring your arms up like a Y. And then take a deep breath in. And say, I am.
I am.
I am.
And then bring your arms down. Whew. It's a workout, right?
Tell me all those things that you mentioned that we would want. Do you do that individually for each of those things, or do you just?
Because my mind just says, bring it all at once.
Just everything.
Everything, right?
Well, I just keep having this image of myself going through the airport with my carry-on waving and being because I'm going, well, if I could do that, that means I can walk, I can carry, I can travel by myself. Everything's cool.
Right. And that's a great image to hold.
And how many times a day would you do this?
I would do it twice on each side.
Mhm.
And I would do it once a day. And if you could do it every day.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, so I learned this before in a previous class, and I always thought it was like rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time.
Yes.
And I could never do it. And today, no problem. Yay!
Right. Everything becomes like more natural and easier over time. And I felt the same way. I remember the first time I did a workshop at Enlightened Heart in Orange County, like one of my first workshops for the energy codes in person. Reverend Cindy was like, wrong arm, Reverend Cindy, wrong. Because I had like the same leg and the same arm or something like that. So it takes a little while.
The thing that always got me too was that you close the same eye that you're leaning towards, right?
So if it's it's actually the opposite. Yeah. So if it's my right arm, I'm closing the opposite eye.
Really? Yes, because you're keeping your eye open, looking straight down to your thumb.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. Okay.
So yeah, so the one that stays open is the one that's in alignment with.
Yes, the one that's in alignment. Yes.
So if you can't get the image, can you just say the words or affirm it?
Absolutely. And if you can't do this sitting up, or if you want to do it in bed, you can, she says.
Yeah,
Right?
how do you do that in bed?
Right. So I guess you would get on your side. I'm thinking, I've never tried, but we could try it this week and then get back to each other.
I'm going to fall right off.
And I would do it like in the center of the mattress. Don't do it at the edge. So that's one of the ones. We'll spend a little more time doing muscle testing so that you guys know how to do that as well. But this is like the easier version of the practices for this chapter. And let's see. This one is the solar plex breath for this chakra, for chakra number 3. And so why don't we do that one right now? This one she calls baseball grapefruit.
Was that one the mortar march? That one we just did?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the thing we were slicing? Was it called a karmic sack?
A karmic sack in chakra 2. She says that we carry it there.
Thank you.
Mhm. And so this one is the solar breath for the third chakra. And the area that we're focusing on is just beneath the rib cage and just above the belly button. So you want to engage Mula Bandha and then open up your heart. And you want to focus on breathing into that area just below the rib cage and above the belly button and expanding it the size of a grapefruit and then contracting it to the size of a baseball. So let's begin by taking in a deep breath in from overhead. And then exhaling down.
Are you keeping your 4 anchor points or just Mula Bandha?
Let me see what she says. Just Mula Bandha on this one.
Okay.
Okay. So eyes open or eyes closed, however you feel more comfortable. And then take a deep breath in. And then exhaling down. And then as you're breathing in, your belly expands. And as you exhale, it comes back. Now let's breathe in or breathe out one more time. And then breathing up from chakra 10 into chakra 3. Exhaling through the crown. And then dropping in from chakra 9 into chakra 3. Exhaling down into the earth. So that's the area that you focus on when you're working on the solar plexus. And that allows you to stop. Let's see. It regulates the conscious and the subconscious. It helps to open up the trap door. It gives us more respect. It allows us, gives us access to respect, high self-esteem. Okay. So yeah, that one. So that one correlates to the conscious and the subconscious, that breath.
On this breath, so Mula Bandha, and you're focusing right here, the torso area.
Yes.
You're breathing, you're inhaling to the size of a grapefruit and you're exhaling to the size of a baseball. And I was doing the central channel doing like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you went into go into chakra 10 and chakra 9. And then is it then the chakra 10 is that egg-shaped thing? No? Okay, then I got lost.
Okay, sorry about that. So chakra 10 is 2 feet into the earth.
Ah,
So the place where we're breathing into
okay.
is chakra 10, and that's where we land when we get here. And that's where we leave our overnight bag for everything that we're going to need in this lifetime. So when we're breathing 2 feet into the earth, you're accessing everything that you need to fulfill your soul mission. So when you're breathing up from that chakra, you're like pulling out your goodie bag.
And then 9 is what?
And 9 is 2 feet above your head.
Okay.
Right. And that's your soul purpose.
So when I thought of the egg, I was thinking of chakra 12.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So 10 is Mother Gaia, and where you have your carry-on that you're going to be running through the airport with.
Mm-hmm. And then 9, what's that called?
So 9 is the soul purpose, and that's like
Up there. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
up there. And then 8 is like right here, and that's your life purpose. So this is your life purpose, and this is your soul purpose.
Okay.
So yeah, so when I say you're breathing, and that's about as high as you can go, right in the chakras, but that's where we're breathing from, 2 feet above our head. And then we're exhaling.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, ladies, any final comments on these chapters or exercises? All
It's
right.
just so good.
I'm glad you're here, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, so if you're ready, I'll pray us out. And so let's take a deep breath in. And so how grateful and thankful I am for being able to fellowship, study, laugh, and share in this way. I'm grateful for this sacred circle of amazing women and beings, and all that is being embodied, more of our true, authentic self. Knowing that it truly does light us up, igniting the circuitry that allows us to hold more of the higher self, more of spirit within the physical body. And that embodiment actually means that more of us is here in the physical, and that is happening more fully than it has ever happened before, at whatever pace we move individually. I'm just grateful and thankful to know that it is happening. Recognizing God is everywhere present, the one life that is all good all the time and love only. To know that it is wholeness without limit, without hindrance, and that it created us in its image and its likeness. And so we allow our original blueprint of wholeness, perfection, abundance, beauty, strength, power, wisdom to begin to express more fully through our physical, our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual bodies. Being properly identified as spirit and physical form, we allow ourselves to have all of our needs met. And so I'm grateful and thankful for every single one of our steps being divinely guided by the very presence of God, and knowing that this still small voice is constantly telling us, letting us know what is right and next for us to do. And so I'm blessing each one of us as we go through the remainder of our day until we gather again, grateful and thankful for all that has transpired. I release this word by saying, and so it is. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Have a beautiful week.